Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening. So today is Thursday the 20th of 2020. This is Achan Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. So as usual, I'm here with you on the Thursday evening. So Thursday evening, normally at the center we used to have evening meditation, but since the lockdown we have cancelled and no events at all at the center, no classes at all. Hopefully we can get a class running at the center in the near future, if the virus is not spreading or relatively able to control. Nevertheless, in Aberdeen, there are 200 and something 30 up people are tested positive, and still 1,000 up are contacted for this virus. Also, in other parts of the world, it's growing, and Nepal is locked down again. So, like that. So anyway, we are, and today again we have a lovely day. Before going on to the topic, just want to announce that on the 12th of September, in the afternoon, I have invited one of the monks from Thailand, who is the director of peace studies, to give a talk and guide a meditation. So whoever would like to join, please text me and I will send you a Zoom link for that day. So he is the director of peace studies in Mahachulalongkorn Buddhist University in Thailand. So he is going to speak on meditation, what for and what benefits are. So this is the topic, and I just want to announce it to you. Meanwhile, the last Monday of this month, we're going to have this regular meditation, Monday Mindfulness Mondays through the Zoom. So again, if you would like to join, there is a link in our website, as well as I have posted on Facebook too. Or if you haven't got, again, let me know. I will send the link to you. And this coming Saturday will be the last day of children's class for a couple of weeks, and after that, about 3 weeks, there won't be any classes for the children. So these are some of the information just to inform you all. Most importantly, on the 4th of October, we're going to have the Katina robe offering ceremony at the center. So again, you are most welcome to join, and as well as sponsoring the fundraising to the center as well. Okay, so these are some of the information for you to keep it in your diary. Right, so this is ongoing talk on the basis of the first discourse of the Buddha, and over this 1.5 months, we've been talking on different aspects of the teachings of the Buddha and how it's relevant to our day-to-day life. And now this is we are working on the second factors of the Eightfold Noble Path, the Sila factor, and that's the Samma Vaca, the right speech. And in that right speech, again, there are 4 components, and so far I have spoken on 3 components, and today I plan to complete the last one, the last components of a right speech. But after I contemplate on that, I realize that there are still few things to inform and know about it. So in that relation, what I found that there are a few stories from the time of the Buddha in relation to the harsh speech, and the harsh speech, that how that affects to one another. And in that harsh speech, I mentioned about this harsh speech is basically because of the anger or a hate or resentment is the cause for the speaking a harsh word. There is one famous writer said that speech indicates the character of a person, and a character represents the behavior of a person, and a behavior represents the family conditions. So that's why speech is a really important part of our daily life, and also part of whether you encourage people or whether discourage people, whether you make the people become a more happy or unhappy, all entirely based on how do we speak. So as a result of that, piya vacha, or the kind speech, being the part of kind speech being a part of the so-called keep living a harmonious life, harmonious community. And when one speaks harmoniously, then everything sounds much easier. It doesn't matter how big the difficulties are. When someone speaks to you kindly and be there for you, listening your stories, and that solves the half the problem. And in relation to that, when I was contemplating this afternoon, I come across the stories from the time of the Buddha, that during the time of the Buddha, every country used to have kind of a Miss World. So it's like a Miss Scotland or a Miss England or Miss UK, like that. So in those days, they used to have one special girl who is very talented, very good at negotiation, and she will be sponsored by the kings of that country, or the millionaires, mostly the kings. And whenever there is some business to do or some negotiation to be done with the other nations, when they invite the different kings from different nations, normally let this lady go and seduce, or by different words, speaking kindly, negotiating the matters before the king comes and negotiate with these guests. So it was a practice like that. But in the meantime, there doesn't matter how harsh speech the king was, the lady normally able to soften the king, or it doesn't matter how strong his aims and objectives are, but the lady always softens their point of views and ability to come into the terms, and a negotiation happens in that way. So that's the beauty of not speaking the harsh words. And even nowadays, if someone speaks harsh word, we do not want to be a part of that community or that people, or we do not want to join with them at all. And forget about if there is a bunch of speaking harsh words and bullying, insulting, causing troubles to those who are not in the group or in so-called herds. and then no one wants to be in a part of it. Similar things happened during the time of the Buddha. That there was an event, an annual event called Bala Nakhata. I think that's equivalent with the celebration of a Holi in India, and in Nepal as well, a Holi. Or in Nepal there is another word called Holi. I think a Holi, yeah. On that day, normally what happened, but now looking at the history and looking at the story from at the time during the time of the Buddha, and now looks like more civilized in those days. The story tells that in those days, whenever the event takes place annually, sometimes it takes they celebrate for a week, and during this week, the celebration. So people, normally the young or teenagers, are just smeared with the colors and drinking and shouting, speaking harsh words, and especially shouting out loud. And whoever are not joining with them, they will simply, abuse and insult by using the harsh words. And the story further says that in order to let them go away from their sights, people used to pay them away. Yeah? So just to throw the coins, and then they will just go away from their sights. And like that. And this is, I think, was again practiced in these, even nowadays, that as well. I have been one of them once, or when I was young. So we used to use the colors, and even black color, even the not good ones. So we put other people and abusing them, using the colors and shouting and dragging and like that. And this is a tradition that we thought it was acceptable, and like that. At the same time, even in Thailand celebrates what they call a water festival. And on that day as well, you can throw colors at anyone in the past, but not now anymore. So now it's become a more civilized. And India as well, Holi being one of the greatest fun celebrations of a year, that people from around the world travel back to India simply to join this Holi. Smeared with the different colors. And now, even not only in India, even now here in the UK as well, whenever there is a day of a Holi, people normally go and join and dance and smeared with the colors. And this celebration is okay, but those days people used to shout and abuse other people, those who are not joining with them. And that's the reason why one of the on one occasion, Visakha Upashika, who was one of the very great devotees of the Buddha, who normally visits the temple, listen to talks and meditate at the center, unable to go to the temple for one whole week. And when she couldn't go for one whole week, and after 1 week later, she went to the temple and complained to the Buddha that, these are a celebration and shouting and abusing of people. As a result, we are not able to come. And the Buddha said that the foolish and uninstructed dolts are offensive like that, but the wise cultivate a mindfulness and attain the Nibbana. So basically, Buddha is saying that those who do not see the importance of the mindfulness, they normally indulge in such an occasion, and which I think I can see here these days as well. When there is events for the spiritual practices, there's less people, but when there is a party, then people would love to join the parties. So that's a harsh speech. And similarly, there was a story of one story that his one of the monks during the time of the Buddha, he was not that good in studying or even the practice. His memory wasn't good, and but he only remembers one gatha verses, and he remembers that verses so well, and he contemplates on it every day and practice in accordance with that verse. And with that, when he chanted those verses every night, it says that the devatas or the celestial beings would applaud, saying, said great. And it happened like that at all the time. And one day the two learned monks from another city came to visit him. And then, having known that these two are wise and learned monks, he wanted to hear some teachings. And he requested these two monks to give a talk. And at that time, these two monks, because of the learned and well respected with the ego, they said that if we give a talk, who would listen? And this monk said, well, normally when I chant and when I reflect on these verses, normally the deities, devatas, would applaud. So with that, he insisted these two learned monks to give a talk. And these two learned monks also wanted to know that whether the devatas would appreciate their teachings or not. So they explain in very detail, in a very sequentially, explain in detail about the teachings. And after the end of the teachings, there wasn't any applause from the devatas. Then they began to complain, using the harsh word that devatas are biased, partial, they're not equal, like that. And then they also wanted to know whether the monk was saying the truth. So they spoke very harshly to this monk, and then this monk had to demonstrate. And when he said, the devatas applauded out loud. So then even that made more kind of a fighting with the words. These monks were just shouting with the harsh words. And this matter came to the Buddha, and then the Buddha investigated, and the Buddha simply said that having learned but haven't understood doesn't mean that you are talking too much, you are a wise one. But if you have only little, but you have comprehended on it, then that's more enough. So the Buddha simply praised the monk who knows little rather than these two monks, despite of knowing a lot, but dissatisfied with not applauding or appreciating their teachings, they began to complain or spoke harsh words. So like that. And there is very interesting, another story was that there are a group of 6 monks. They were living in one same monastery in Jetavana Vihara, and there were some novices as well. And normally they have a lunch together. And then one day, novices were on the Pindapata, like arms around. This group of 6 monks. So after the novices came back to the dana room, the hall, to prepare the food, a group of 6 monks came and abused, saying to these novices that we are the learned one, we are the good ones. Why you're doing this and why you're doing that? This is not that way. This is not this way. Kind of these 6 monks, this group of 6 monks were simply speaking very, very harsh words to the novices. and that so also caused the novices very unhappy, and novices were frightened, kind of a bully. These group of 6 monks were bullying these novices, and as a result the story also goes to the Buddha, and Buddha resolved, saying that speaking harsh doesn't make you a learned one. Speaking harsh words doesn't make you a good one, but speaking a gentle and kind makes one good people. In fact, these group of 6 monks are one of the main root causes of all the monks' rules that we have. Almost all of them, many of them, are because these group of 6 monks. So they know how to twist and turn the monastic rules and breaking just for the self-benefit. So like that. So these 6 monks were also speaking harsh words and causing a trouble to in a monastery. Okay, and meanwhile, the harsh words again can be different forms. It can be many different forms, and this could be physically, at the front, or could be nowadays, if we take it as present day, can be written, writing on a Facebook or social media. These are also known as the harsh speeches. And with that, I think there are a number of teenage groups or teenage people are also very affected by someone who is abusing, and that is also we should consider, and that has caused a lot of problem to the teenage groups as well, and even led to the suicide in the West. And that's again because of the harsh words, defaming and causing what's called unworthy and feeling of no one wants, and as a result of that, they took their lives, and which is so sad. And because of the harsh words, again, sometimes it's a combination of a slander, and with that cause divisions and cause people to be really, really bad and turn to be very bad as well. And this is again sometimes from the kind, it can turn into the beast. And there is a story during the time of the Buddha that with a combination of a group of friends were simply speaking harsh and slander, the friend, one of the very friend who was peace lover, turned into the beast. We know him as Angulimala, who killed over 1,000 people. Angulimala, basically, he probably one of the first serial killer in the history, but fortunately when he met the Buddha, and he was comforted by the Buddha and become the enlightened one. Okay? So that's why we need to be very careful of what we say, how we say, and that's the third part of the right speech. And the last one is it's called a sampapalapa vacha, or the frivolous or idle chatting. Now, Buddha never encouraged people to speak idle chatter or the frivolous speeches, but nowadays when people talking about rubbish, we like it, and when people talking about jokes, people love it, and that's why there is a what's called McIntyre show. So, and there are so many talk shows that speaks rubbish, but people love to go and listen and laugh. I remember a few years ago, one of the very top talk show came to Aberdeen, and people were paying for over £100 for his 1 hour show, like that. Okay? So Buddha simply didn't encourage people to engage such idle chatting or frivolous talks or speeches. So Buddha simply said that when you are meeting with other people, rather than speaking useless talks, talk about the Dhamma or stay silent. So silence is the key, rather than speaking any nonsense like that. And so this is what Buddha meant. And Buddha said that when we are talking rubbish, we just waste our time. Rather than wasting our time, speak about the Dhamma or stay away and simply, do not chat, do not talk. And that's the advice from the Buddha. And again, nowadays, if you look at the newspaper or news, they're all selling mostly rubbish. But we are paying for that, and particularly gossip newspapers. There are plenty. All these gossips going on about this celebrity, that celebrity. They are doing this, they are doing that. They're talking this, they're eating that. Rubbish. And still people buying, and this has become a multi-million business. So we don't like it, but we are paying for it. Think about it. So rather than engaging on this, better to talk about the practice of a mindfulness meditation, practice of I know it's boring, but it's a good for your mind and for happiness to come, and your brain will be more productive, rather than talking about the gossips or rubbish or useless talks. Okay. So I offer this as a reflection for tonight, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope I do not offend anyone by saying that these are be mindful of what you say, what you do, and engaging in this frivolous or idle chattings. With this, may you be all happy and well. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. And in a few moments' time, we will have a chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Until then, thank you and good night.